My name's John Drury. Welcome to Arizona. The reason I've been here in Arizona for 10 years, and the reason I came to Arizona is because of this little girl, Grace, who's adopted from China. And so actually she's a direct relationship to how I got to be here today, because had she not been in the picture, I wouldn't have started to go to her schools and talk about my career, which I spent 25 years as a Disney Imagineer. And that was, I left there about 13 years ago. And right after the fact that I got out of Disney, I started thinking about the idea of a theme park that would be all about the 5 E's of the future: education, energy, environment, economic development, and all that through entertainment. So about 7 years ago, created Ideality here in Arizona to create that kind of a park that would embody those ideals. And I've come to the point where now I look at this as it's going to be a STEAM park. And if you remember now, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. I take art, the A of art, you throw it into STEAM, you got STEM, you got STEAM. So the idea of this park will be you'll have regular rides, but they'll be powered by clean tech energy. So in other words, this could be a solar-powered Ferris wheel, or a algae-powered, biogas-powered Ferris wheel, or a giant rolling ball machine that as you're rolling along in this ball, you're actually creating energy. This is the park, an idealization of the park. And at the center of this park, we have this giant icon I call it the ultimate Rube Goldberg, Da Vinci-esque icon. And if you can see the scale of a person here, that's where they'd get on the elevator to take you up to the observation tower, or there'd be observation interactive units within this contraption where you could actually interact with what was going on. And the idea is that the recycled water is drawn up from the depths below up to the top to a tank on the hour. Then the water gets released and goes down through a series of flumes and chutes and drives other turbines and other activity, creates energy. There's solar power on this. There's technology can actually draw water out of the air. In our monsoon times, we have a lot of humidity here. When the water comes down to the end, it goes out a series of flumes throughout the park and drives kinetic art machines. So the big pipe coaster is another one of the rides that could be involved in this park. Actually a homage to the great big public works that brought the water and the electricity here to the desert, just like I'm sure those kind of public works have happened in the Middle East to bring development to your areas. And so we would include wind turbine technology and other small mini turbine technology into the track to pick up all the small vortexes of energy and wind. We have a particularly individual, we call it the solar coaster. So it'd be a coaster powered by solar energy. This is kind of an interesting idea for a repurposed oil rig. Only in this case, it's a giant bounce house. And the material is ideally going to be made out of recycled plastic that we pull out of the giant plastic soup that's in 5 areas of the ocean. So when I go basically the idea is I've gotten to go into schools and talk about this through a kind of a career day activity. And so the idea here again is that the kids are involved with this, and you're trying to translate the energy of kids into real energy. So the idea again is that the material of this bounce house would be repurposed, recycled plastic that would sandwich piezoelectric devices within them, and then as they get bounced against, they're creating friction, and that energy would be shunted to a large battery, a series of batteries. So the art of energy at play. This is an idea, the ideal environment. Again, talking about possibly incorporating a giant greenhouse to talk about urban farming and new technologies in growing and so forth, and the whole urban farming revolution. We'd have a train that would be, instead of a steam train powered by coal-fired steam, we'd have solar-powered steam. We'd have an underground grotto that would show what it's like underground to have an activity that when it's outside 110, it might be 80 degrees underground. Our merry-go-round is a solar go round. It's a basically talks about the solar system. So it's a learning experience in addition to being an educational experience. This is a ride that actually came directly out of an idea that I saw at the Arizona Science Center a few years back. It was how waves are generated. And it was just a globe, a plastic globe that had water in it with some small fans at the top. And you push a button, the fan would go and start to generate these little tiny waves, which were just like real waves, only small. So I thought, well, why don't we make that bigger and make a real ride out of it and actually have an electromagnetic core in the cabin so that every time you got pitched and rolled, you'd be producing electricity. So that's based on real technology. That's power buoys that are actually in production. This is again, this is the introduction of art to technology. This was a shade project, and again, just using, instead of just a regular umbrella, let's use big hats and incorporate solar energy into the tops, and then create energy and cool breezes underneath. This is another new idealized version of the plan, and as you can see, it's on the light rail system, because the idea here is I'm trying to design a place where someday I could live and not have a car. I could just walk everywhere. So it's live, learn, work, and play. So the idea here's the idea of a city in the desert, actually depicted by an Arizona artist 25, 30 years ago. And is it floating cities? He was an artist who did work with NASA. So we want to use his kind of ideas. Floating cities. So the way I got to be here today was a couple of years ago, decided to go to a keynote speaker dinner where Craig Barrett, former head of Intel, was talking about reform of education, and that's where I met Jeremy, and had expressed a desire to get involved with the SciTech Festival. And so over the course of the following months, it came to my conclusion that I could go in and go work at schools and talk about this project in the context of science, technology, engineering, and math with my art experience, and marry the two. So again, and the goals of the Tech Festival are to move culture from sports-centered, which this country is very much involved in, a sports loving culture, to more of a STEM-educated culture and society. And also rebrand Arizona, which we have a little bit of a problem with our branding over the course of the last few years with immigration issues and so forth. And then to motivate families and kids to go into these kinds of fields through programs like we're describing today. So again, I think if you Google STEM, you'll find it. It's there. There's plenty of relations to STEM. Another acronym that I've come up with, STEAM, is Saving the Earth Absolutely Matters. So this is me in my studio. I work with a variety of recycled materials, particularly the paper core that's at the end of rolls of common tissue paper, paper towels, and so forth. I take these and then turn them into art, as you can see. So now I've taken that plan and gone into, and with the involvement with the SciTech Festival, have been introduced to schools to go in and talk about this whole program of this park and how it relates to science and technology, engineering, and math, and talk to kids as like a career day opportunity, or actually to have an extended period to actually talk about the difference of the science that's involved in any of those rides. Just recently in Mesa, I was involved in a creativity festival there. So, and this was basically some of the work that was created from they had families coming through. Hundreds of families came through and painted these cores and left them behind for a community project. Before I came here today, I was actually working with a school here in Scottsdale, creating a desert environment. This is a work in progress, but you can see a giant cactus in work here. This is the sort of a transition showing the work. This is a sun project. This is, again, going through my granddaughter's school. But you can see the relationship. You know, if you want to talk about something that's most important in our world, it's the sun. And then you basically get the kids to do their interpretation of the suns, and we put it all together. And again, this is actually, it turned out to be part of a a fundraising activity for the schools. We have to raise money for schools here, you know, like everywhere. They're not giving us enough money to educate the kids, even though that's the most important thing we need to do today. When I go in and talk to the kids about all this business, you show them really interesting videos. If you'll note the website down here, strandbeast.com. If you can show this to your kids, it will just it boggles their minds. You hear this artist, Theo Jansen, and a physicist, and his great saying is, the walls between art and engineering exist only in our minds. So that's, again, one of the reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing. You talk about Tesla, you talk about Da Vinci, you talk about Edison, and you show interesting aspects of their inventions. I love Edison says, we don't know a 1/1,000,000th of 1% about anything, which I can identify with totally. Another one of the slides is, this is about a small carousel that is installed in Ghana. It creates electricity. There's a power source within the core of that, and the kids can do the merry-go-round, create electricity. The idea, again, is to show kids, hey, look, this is schools in Ghana. They have nothing but a sheet metal roof over their heads. They don't have this kind of floors and air conditioning and wired and so forth. So you show the other side of the world. This is me working with the kids at school last year, and the carousel you can see on the right. And here, this is a couple of the cores that are kind of a work in progress for a school I'm working with, Arizona Academy of Science. They're going to do an algae project. So here's a couple of, we can imagine the kids working on their interpretation of algae and all the science involved in that, and creating strands of algae through these cores. So any questions? These are a couple of quotes that I leave the kids. Don't fear mistakes, there are none, and if your ship doesn't come in, swim out to it. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer.